It's season 2 of Ag and Culture. We are talking culture. Tune in for great guests and conversation, breaking down all things agriculture. Watch us on our YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms, and on Facebook at Footprint Farms. Every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 7 a.m. on the West. Proudly sponsored by Heifer USA.
Good morning and welcome to our new show, Ag Plus Culture. I'm your host, Sdfr Elliott. Our show, Ag and Culture, will explore all things agriculture, especially, okay, he's not moving, Mr. C. Okay, we start from the top or pick it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning and welcome to our show, Ag Plus Culture. I'm your host, Sdfr Elliott. Our show, Ag and Culture, will explore all things agriculture, especially how we communicate efficiently with farmers and ranchers of color. We will have local and national news about what's going on when and where, and we'll tell you everything about plants, gardens, and backyard farming. Understanding right here our property. We also will talk about culture, health, food, education, music, and politics. Our goal is to make this show interactive, so we want to hear from you. You can reach us Instagram at Footprint Farms, Facebook Footprint Farms, website footprintfarmsms.com, or you can call us at 601-910-5534. And make sure you subscribe to our new YouTube channel, Footprint Farms MS. Okay, let's get it on. I got a great guest here with me, a good friend, and she's riding shotgun. And for me today, Eloris Speight, Executive Director from Sdfr Policy Research Center, Alcorn State University. She has some great things for us today to talk about. We want to send our hellos out to LeGrand Elliott, my co-host, who's out doing community service today. We miss you and wish you well. But today we're going to have a lot of good information, accurate information, and my very special guest and good friend, Eloris Speight. Welcome to Ag Plus Culture, our new 2023.
Good morning. Excited to be here.
Thank you. And we're going to get into this, and we're going to start everybody to understand first, what is Socially Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Research Center? Tell us more about that.
All right. So the Socially Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Research Center, located at the Alcorn State University, that was authorized in the 2014 Farm Bill. And it was authorized to be a voice for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers, and equally as important, to ensure that there was data-driven information available for key stakeholders, including the House and Senate Agricultural Committees and for USDA and then other policymakers.
So this gives a voice to us. As a farmer, I can really appreciate what's going on with the Policy Center. So we have you and all the research data that you collect or have collected throughout this year or these last 2 years, getting ready for this new Farm Bill. So how does that work for us as a small farmer? What does that do for me?
So what it does, again, we represent the interest then of small farmers and not just small farmers, all socially disadvantaged farmers there. And our mission then is to achieve then equitable the distribution of USDA programs and practices. And I want to emphasize then equitable. There's a difference between equal and equitable.
A big difference.
Absolutely. So if you start up here and I start down here and you give us equal services, then it will never become equitable, if you will. Exactly. So in order then for equitable relief, if you will, then you need to figure out what is it that I need from down here so that we are both here at some point.
So we're in the process of trying to raise that up to whatever needs to be done here to get us up so we can have equity.
Absolutely. So equitable relief, if you will, for all farmers.
And Eloris, this is a major task, but it's just not Mississippi, it's nationwide.
Absolutely. So even though and we refer to it as the Policy Center. So although the Policy Center is located at Alcorn State University here in Lorman, Mississippi.
Shout out to the Alcorn
Yes.
State University.
It is a national center, and we represent socially disadvantaged farmers throughout the United States there. And so we work with the entire 1890 and other land grant communities then to advance the success of socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers.
You know, and LeGrand is always fussing at us. What do you mean by these acronyms? 1890s. 1890s are our black universities, our agricultural universities. So when we refer to 1890s, that's when they were established, or the law was established or passed for 1890s universities and colleges then to be established for people of color, for black people.
Land grants, correct. 1862 universities are predominantly white institutions that were established as a result of the first Morrill Act, which was in 1862.
Okay.
Then in 1890, the second Morrill Act created the historically black college and university land grants.
So we already started inequitable to begin with, because when they started one in 1862, they didn't start it for all. They put it in place just for the white people. Black people then had nothing or couldn't read and write a lot until a lot was established. In 1890 is when the second Morrill Act went about.
That's correct. And so we already started later the historically black colleges and universities, but on top of that, it is called a land grant, but they never received the land.
Here we go again.
Right.
So now this was 1862 was land grant. They received millions and millions of acres of land.
Correct.
And then it came back years later in 1890,
Yes.
and they established, but we still hadn't got the land.
Correct.
Just got a sliver.
Did not get the funding, the land, and the money that was granted to 1862 institutions, right? And so that disparity in funding continues to exist today. And so that's one of the objectives in this 2023 Farm Bill then, is to reduce the disparities in funding between the 1862 and the 1890 universities.
So we got a long way even to start with from the beginning. And now we'll get to where we are right now, 2023. And we are still at this huge deficit of what was put in place. And everybody wonders why. Well, why is this like this? And you can see it from the beginning. But this has to be told. A lot of people, especially black people, or people in general, a lot of people don't understand. I can't say, well, why, for instance, our universities don't have everything that these universities have. Well, it was intentionally designed to begin with. So here we are.
Right. Well, whether it was intentional or not, that's how it came out.
History
exactly.
has it.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And as they said, them just the facts. Absolutely. Yes.
Some just the facts. So
Yes.
we got the facts. And this is the part that the Policy Center is doing now. It's all about facts.
Yes.
So these facts are being collected, or the
data.
data are being driven. And how is that happening? How do you do that? How do you make that happen?
So we receive funding, through Congress, up through a pass-through through USDA, and we receive our funding, and with the explicit purpose of conducting research studies then to document the issues and concerns related to socially disadvantaged farmers, and then to bring those develop recommendations then from those research studies, and then present them to the Congressional Black Caucus and the House Agricultural and Senate Agricultural Committees then to get policy introduced that will advance the success of socially disadvantaged
So
farmers.
this is starting, like, if anybody don't know how bills and things change, this is one of the first beginnings. And what's happening is that the research that's being conducted throughout this country is done by whom to get this statistical data? Because they have data out there. It's just not reflecting black people or people of color data that's accurate numbers. So how do you get there? How do you get this information studies out, and what are we studying and what's coming back in?
Okay, so we have 6 research priority then at the Policy Center. So the impact of policy on socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. Then 2 is participation in USDA programs. So either those things that support participation or those things then that limit or prohibit participation in USDA programs. 3rd is the decline of black farmers or the loss of land. And that's the only category that we focus specifically on blacks because of the decline in blacks. We also have access to resources. Started out as access to technology. It is now access to resources, especially capital.
Yeah.
You know, as we have gone around the country, often we hear the greatest challenge for black farmers especially is access to capital.
Well, it's understandable because as a black farmer, I know this is real.
Yes.
There's no doubt we can talk about it. We say it all the time and they know. But in order for it to be heard or to be looked at for policies to change, we have to have the data to back it up to show that.
Absolutely. But before we get there, so so just to finish out the priorities. So 2 years in, we added youth programs and urban agriculture.
Youth and urban.
Right, yes. So that's 6 priority areas that we collect data or we conduct research then and then develop policy recommendations then the idea is until we have significant progress in those 6 areas, we plan to stay the course.
Well, we're going to hold that. Now we have our 6. We're going to have a short commercial break coming up soon so that we can tell more about what's happening in agriculture. And we'll be back. And I want to thank you for being here with us. Our very special guest, Eloris Speight, Executive Director of Sdfr Policy Research Center, Alcorn State University House, nationally known. We'll be right back.
Heifer USA, a nonprofit that supports small-scale, sustainable livestock businesses, and we are currently seeking individuals interested in pastured pork production in the state of Mississippi. Applicants should have access to at least 35 acres of land and be willing to participate in in-depth training, both online and in person at Heifer Ranch in Perryville, Arkansas. To learn about our operation, check out the Pastured Pigs playlist on the Heifer USA YouTube channel, or contact Farmer Engagement Specialist Ruth Canada at 501-391-5511.
Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide. Farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 1,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet.
Welcome back to Ag Plus Culture. I'm your host, Cindy Elliott. My co-host, LeGrand, is out doing community service today. So I got a very special guest with me right now, Eloris Speight, the Executive Director of Sdfr Policy Research Center. But before we get back to Eloris, let me just thank our sponsor, which is Heifer International USA, for giving us the opportunity to participate and to be able to bring knowledge and information to all our citizens here and far. Eloris, we're back to you, and we're going to pick up where we were. And this is talking about the research areas that we are researching and bringing data in to make sure we can get this, bring up this injustice up to where it's supposed to be. So let's talk about it. Have it your way.
Okay. So I mentioned that the only one of the priorities that related specifically to black farmers related to loss of land and the decline in black farmers.
Now, when you say the loss of land, you're talking about how black farmers from the beginning of farming in, even from the 1862s to now, how the land has been lost, taken, stolen, or it's no longer in possession of black people or black farmers.
That's correct. So in 1920, there were nearly 1 million black farmers in the United States.
1 million?
1 million, yes. Today, due to the history of discrimination, it is estimated that there are less than 50,000 remaining black farmers. Correct. So that is 1.49% of the 2.8 million farmers in the United States are black farmers.
So we are an endangered species.
Yes. So unless there is some intervention, black farmers run the risk of becoming extinct.
So now, I'm a black farmer. I'm a new black farmer. So I just came into that mix to be part of the 50. So when you look at having 1 million acres down to now,
1 million black farmers.
1 million black farmers. Now we are 50,000.
Less than 50,000.
In 2023.
Correct.
And we're losing more every day.
Correct.
So we are endangered. I mean, we have to do something, and something has to be done to stop this trend. There's no doubt the trend is there. That's a proven, as they say, that is a fact. So what are some of the things we're doing to help to bring this this fact to change some of the numbers in this?
So let me give you a little background first. So Justice for Black Farmers, I know you probably have heard, there was an act that was never passed or has not been passed to date, but it started out the Justice for Black Farmers Act. And during the last presidential campaign, black farmers met with 4 Democratic candidates at that time. Senator Warren, then Vice President Biden, Michael Bloomberg, and Senator Bernie Sanders were the 4 candidates that they met. And each one of them developed policy then and made commitments to black farmers. Well, the one that developed the most comprehensive was Senator Elizabeth Warren. And that is known as the Justice for Black Farmers Act. Later in 2021, after the Biden administration, came into office, then Senator Booker,
Cory Booker,
took the lead, if you will, from Senator Warren on the Justice for Black Farmers, and then Senator Reverend Warnock actually became intimately involved as well. And so certain components of the Justice for Black Farmers was put into the American Rescue Plan then. 2 sections primarily. Section 105, which was debt relief for farmers of color, and it was changed from Justice for Black Farmers to relief for farmers of color. Okay, and then 1006 was the support then, including funding, to the historically or minority serving institutions. So those were the 2 primary sections then of the American Release Act that related to farmers of color.
So from the beginning to now where we are now, some of the language was pulled from Elizabeth Warren part, and then put into now President Joe Biden part for what they wanted to do to continue on. And Senator Cory Booker and Senator Warnock took on that and helped to craft more. So what happened?
Okay, so the Section 105, which was a commitment of debt relief for farmers of color, actually was stalled in the courts, if you will.
Lawsuits were filed by white farmers.
White male, predominantly white male farmers. But what happened, or at least this is my belief, So it started out as justice for black farmers. Then, when it got to Congress, next, farmers of color.
So
was
every person that considered farmer of color, from every
Yes.
nationality other than Anglo-Saxon or Caucasians,
So
was now.
even white females ended up being included. So the only ones not included was the white males. So they filed discrimination complaints, and it was halted in the courts. And so one of the things, and I'm going to say about that because it gets to some of our recommendations in the 2023 Farm Bill, because racial equity is one of the categories in our recommendations. Because what happened, but in between our 2023 recommendations and the American Relief Act, there was the Inflation Reduction Act. Okay, and so I want to say a little bit about the Inflation Reduction Act. So the Inflation Reduction Act repealed 1005.
The one that the white farmers filed a lawsuit against.
Correct. Right. And so we at the Policy Center believe that that was in the best interest, at least for black farmers.
For black farmers, not
Yes.
farmer, the overall
Not all
farmer
farmers of color.
because they put everybody in there.
Right. And so one of the things, and so I want to say, again, I want to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act, but also our recommendation to stop lumping everybody together.
Putting everybody on our backs again.
Well, everyone does not have a shared culture there. Each of those groups, minority groups, does not have a shared cultural background.
I.e., black people came here as slaves.
Exactly.
Continued as
Slave
slaves.
and free labor. Absolutely. So your indigenous or American Indian,
Native American
Indian,
yes.
exactly, was the theft of prime land. Your Hispanics, there's a cultural history of migrant workers, right? And so each group has a very different culture. But unfortunately, what typically happens, the case for action relates to what happened to black farmers. And then everybody is included on the bandwagon and it gets stopped. So we believe then that the Inflation Reduction Act, the repeal of 105,
Was a good thing.
Was a good thing. So for two reasons. One, so initially it put $5 billion for debt relief, or before the $5 billion was for debt relief.
Okay.
But it was stopped in the courts, number one. But even if it had not been stopped, there are only 8% of black farmers that would have received debt relief.
All right, now, come on now. Everybody been lumped together. Now they're saying everybody's going to have some of this as of color. But when you did the research or you really look down at that, and this is going to be for debt forgiveness. First of all, in order to get forgiven, you got to first get what?
You have to have been given debt, right? And so what we found, and according to USDA, there were only 8% of black farmers that had direct USDA loans or USDA-backed loan. So the question becomes then, so where's the other 92%, first of all, getting their money from, and where is the relief for that 92%? And so, again, back to the Inflation Reduction Act, so it repealed 105, but in its place, there was $2.1 billion or $2.2 billion that were set aside for individuals that can provide evidence of discrimination. So we think there is a larger percent than 8%
Absolutely.
of black farmers that have experienced discrimination, number one.
I can raise my hand.
Yes, absolutely. And then the second $3.1 billion was for distressed borrowers. So that money then that would have been held up in courts was now transferred over for those two sections, if you will. So we think that that's a good thing. Yes.
So the money is still there. The money's in place. It's no longer held up in the courts, because when we say repealed, that means it's no longer.
Dead, right.
It's dead. It's no longer. So now those sections and those dollars still went with our new act.
Correct.
So we
Yes.
have the money
Yes.
that's there. But the problem is still how they're saying what's for black farmers or farmers of color overall. So we still got to look at how that affects us as black farmers and what the Policy Center sees in the research and everything else on that. Eloris, this has been great information. And for us to understand the history is so important. Of what we need to do more of is understand the history before you jump up and say, wow, why did they do that? Why did they take that away from us, and what's going on with it? Well, we're going to have a break coming up again, too, so we can talk about the next step of this. I'm happy to be your host. I'm Sdfr Elliott. We're here with Ag Plus Culture and our very special guest, Eloris Speight. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Don't leave me. Come back.
At Heifer USA, we believe the backyard gardener can have a huge impact on their land, in their community, and on our climate. That's why we provide free virtual workshops for beginning, intermediate, and professional gardeners, teaching regenerative methods for growing healthy food while improving soil quality. Find us on YouTube at Heifer USA and join our online community of regenerative growers today.
Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet.
Welcome back to Ag Plus Culture. I'm your host, Sdfr Elliott, and I'm excited today to be here sitting at this great table. I miss you, LeGrand. My co-host is out doing community service today. We hope to have him back in the studio on next week. But today, without a doubt, one of the best informational person in this country that we can bring to this set to talk about what's happening with black farmers is the Eloris Speight. And we're just coming back off the roll of talking about what has happened from President Biden and the changes from one to the other of the bills. So now we're where we are. We still have the money, still a lot of things we need to talk about. Let's talk about that segment of it.
Okay. So the 2023 Farm Bill, then we have a number of recommendations from the Policy Center then related to, we mentioned the Inflation Reduction Act, which has the two components. So before we actually get into the recommendations, what I want to say about those two components that I mentioned, one was distressed borrowers and the others that can provide evidence of discrimination. So one of the things that I want to say about that is we believe that if and especially black farmers are going to receive justice, then this current administration, and specifically the Secretary of Agriculture, needs to act swiftly to implement then. They have started to implement the one provision related to distressed borrowers, but the one related to discrimination, they need to act sooner rather than later from our perspective. And the reason that I say that, Pickford, you may remember, the lawsuit for black farmers.
The first one.
Exactly. What happened, it started or it was drafted under the Clinton administration. Then there was a change in administration. And so when the Bush administration then took office, they did not honor, first of all, some of the things that in the Clinton administration had committed to. So the implementation was very different than what was originally intended. So we don't want the same thing to happen with the Inflation Reduction Act. So we think it is absolutely critical that it be implemented then within the next 24 months then. And time is running out on us.
And time is moving. So
Yes.
we have it in place, it's been passed, it's there, but it still have to be implemented.
Correct.
And if we don't implement it, and this can be done only by the Secretary of Ag,
Yes.
what is implementation to happen?
Yes, USDA has been charged with coming up with the process, if you will. Now, one of the act actually says that it needs to be done by a non-government entity,
Which is so
but
important.
USDA has to name that non-government entity.
Okay,
Yes.
so USDA cannot be the chicken and the fox in the hen house. 'Cause
Correct,
they're the
correct.
corporate here pretty much. So it has to be a third party that's
Correct.
not under USDA.
Correct.
But USDA will name or can appoint who this group or this organization
Well, that's
will be.
yes, they've been charged with that. And so there have been, and they had a number of listening sessions.
Yes.
3 listening sessions that we are aware of. And the Policy Center participated in all 3 listening sessions there, and at the end of it provided written recommendations to USDA for how we think then it should be implemented, if you will. So we're still waiting to see and hopeful that those recommendations then are taken into consideration. Now they receive recommendations from other organizations as well, but we're waiting to see ultimately what happens with USDA. But in the meantime, we're not going to stop working there. We have also drafted the 2023 Farm Bill recommendations.
Which is going to be another big part for us to talk about. But
Yes.
let's not leave where we are. We're still following this money trail. So right now, there's 3.2 billion.
It's 3.1 billion.
3.1 billion is still sitting there to go to work for farmers.
Distressed borrowers.
Distressed
That's already
borrowers.
started. They've already started to pay that out.
Okay, they started to pay out. Tell me which they started to pay out already to
So-
black farmers.
No. It is, again, neither one of those is specific to black farmers. The language, so distressed borrowers.
That's the key word there.
Distressed borrowers is any borrower that has a USDA loan, a FSA loan, that was at least 60 days delinquent.
Okay.
Or more, exactly. And so what USDA did was to pay those loans current, if you will. So to bring them current, then to take away the distress, so that they can, continue on a path of being current.
And this was all farmers, all
Correct.
farmers, period.
All farmers,
that
right.
was delinquent in their payments.
Yes.
They
correct.
brought them current, but didn't pay off the debt. It's still just current to.
They brought them current.
They brought them
right.
current.
They brought them current, right, yes.
So then, for farmers that still have, they're current now, but apparently there was a reason they were behind and been behind, and they still have to farm, still farming. So what happens next? Where are we? Would the implementation have to be put in place? More applications got to be put in for distressed borrowers?
No. So that's the distressed borrower. That ship has sailed.
That ship's gone already.
Right. So
Okay.
the second pot was the 2.2 billion that relates to providing evidence of discrimination. And that's the one where I mentioned that we provided recommendations and we're waiting for USDA to come out with the next steps related to the $2.2 billion.
Can you talk about any of those recommendations?
I
not
don't
yet?
think, no.
No.
Yeah, I don't, I would prefer not, because I don't want the information to get out there and then folks understand, misunderstand what is a recommendation from what actually comes
is,
out. Yes.
Which makes sense.
So, yes.
But the recommendations was gathered from you and how many other groups that was put together for these recommendations?
Yes. Well, USDA held listening sessions, and you also, in the Federal Register, could provide input. And so I know that there were organizations more than just a policy center that put in.
Recommendations
so, yes,
coming in.
Yes, and so USDA committed to very quickly analyzing those recommendations and coming out. So we're waiting to see, what those actions are. Yes.
So soon as that is done and out, and they put the roadmap in place for how this will be done.
Yes.
Hopefully, some of the recommendations that came in from the Policy Center and some of the other great groups will be considered. But to be considered, it does not have to be selected.
Correct.
So they can still write as they choose. But Congress have a say in this and anything that's coming through?
Well, they've already provided the guidelines, so they're waiting to see as well how USDA implements this.
So we will be ready to, so what do we need to do to be ready? We'll go with great, looking to the forward, to the future, everything's good. What should we as black farmers be getting ready to do? Read
So the
more?
only thing that what I would say is, stay tuned, number one. Make sure that you keep your, ears open as soon as some guidance comes out. But in the meantime, what I would suggest is collecting your evidence, if you will. If you believe that you have been discriminated against, start now. Don't wait until the guidance then to collect whatever documentation or evidence that you believe supports that you've been discriminated against.
And this is any farmer.
It's any farmer, but yes, if you've been discriminated against, if you believe that you have been discriminated against, then it'll be on you to provide that evidence to whomever this third party is. So my suggestion is start collecting that information
the data.
now. Yes.
You know if you have been, because you have not only you might have some records, but you've been into any of the offices and you've been turned down, or you got it late, or you didn't get it at all.
Yes.
That is a form of discrimination. If you feel that's
Yes,
if you're
exactly.
a female, if you're
Yes.
a woman, if you're an urban farmer or rural farmer, you feel like this,
Yes.
it's up to you and what you feel is that open to get something ready and in line. So
Yes.
I would start journaling right now, starting from when I started and some of the things that I've done, so that I can be, or we can be ready to go forward with this.
Well, pulling your documentation.
Yeah.
I mean, again, as if you watch enough of the court shows, and they always say,
evidence.
it's nice to hear your story, but where's your evidence? And so you need to pull your documentation. So if you had to go elsewhere and get a loan at a higher interest rate, so then you want to pull the documentation of where you got that loan from, what is the interest rate that you had to pay, what was the interest rate at FSA at that time to show, because most people then, if they had access to a lower rate, was not going to go get a higher rate. So again, that may be an indication that there was some discrimination. And so, or if you received a letter turning you down from FSA first, and then you went elsewhere. So those are the type things. Pull out your records and just have them ready.
Well, this is exciting to hear more, because I know there's a lot of black farmers out there and farmers of color that has been and still feel that they have been discriminated against. But this is a way now to start putting your church in order, getting everything you need in place so that you can be ready when it comes out. Let's not wait, farmers. Let's not wait to see what's coming. Let's get ready to do it. Well, this is exciting. We're going to get ready to break at this moment to go into our commercials. I want to thank Heifer International for being one of our great sponsors. We're Ag and Culture. I'm Cindy Harris Elliott, and we'll be right back. Don't leave me. Stay tuned. More great information to come.
Heifer USA is a leader in regenerative practices, like our pastured pork production operation. Raising pigs on pasture allows the animals to flourish in their natural habitat while building organic soil matter and restoring soil biodiversity. And we're sharing our knowledge with viewers like you with in-depth training videos on poultry, cattle, and sheep. Find us on YouTube at Heifer USA and join our online community of regenerative ranchers today.
Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68-acre vegetable and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers. Farm Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or farmers market located near the fairgrounds. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet.
Welcome back to Ag Plus Culture. I'm your host, Cindy Ayers Elliott, and I have my great guest with me today, Eloris Speight, the Executive Director of the Socially Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Research Center, located at Alcorn State University. But this is a national center, so the work that she's doing and that great staff and everyone that she's working with is getting this great information back. Thank you again for being with us and for all this great information. All right, so now we're getting down to where the rubber meets the road. Where are we, what we need to do, and tell us more about where we can find more information about this.
Okay, certainly. So let's start with the recommendations or the categories for recommendations for the 2023 Farm Bill.
That's due, ready, and it's going to be taking place in 2024. So you're getting ready, everything now has to be in place for 2023.
Well, they have already, the Senate Agricultural Committee has already started hosting listening sessions on the Farm Bill. They're accepting recommendations. So we at the Policy Center plan to have recommendations to the Senate Agricultural and the Congressional Black Caucus by early next week. Yes.
So we've been working for the last couple of years on things. Now we have them informed to get ready to go to Congress, to the Congressional Black Caucus, and to Congress in general?
Correct, yes. Well, no, we send our recommendations to the Senate and House Agricultural Committees for their review and consideration. But before we send it to the House Agricultural Committee, we send it to the Congressional Black Caucus to get their support and endorsement.
Okay.
Yes. And so the categories then, if you will, are racial equity, access to capital, food insecurities, urban agriculture, youth program, heirs property, and 1890 university priorities are the broad categories. Now, I'll talk about briefly what some of those recommendations are within those categories.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so racial equity, and I already mentioned in the use of the term.
Social disadvantaged farmers and ranchers.
Exactly. So a number of minority farmers and especially black farmers take exception to the term socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. They say, why are we called socially disadvantaged? Because we're being discriminated against, yes. Right, is number one. And I've heard this since the Policy Center was first launched, if you will, in late 2015. At that time, my response was, you have to pick your battles. And so we had a choice then of arguing to change the name or to try to get $50 million in mandatory funding. And so we chose to go after the mandatory funding. Okay. So no brainer, exactly. But now, this go round, we have the use of the term because, as you know, words matter.
Yes.
And so, what we've said is, first of all, socially disadvantaged, those socially disadvantaged groups, if you will, do not have a shared history. So why not? And they're already recognized. There's the Black, right, farmers. There are indigenous or Native American farmers. There's Asian American farmers, Hispanic farmers.
But no black American farmers.
Well, no. They're each. My point is that there's already a label.
Yes.
So, let's not, because what we found through a research study analyzing policy analysis by Jackson State University that did the study for us, that when you looked at services that were provided to socially disadvantaged farmers between the 2014 and the 2017 Farm Bill, so when you looked at it in total, services increased to socially disadvantaged farmers. When you broke it into the individual categories, then the group that received the least amount of services,
The least amount.
the least, Black farmers,
And who got the most?
white females.
But these are all socially
Exactly.
disadvantaged.
So the lumped together is a very misleading, and so we basically are recommending that USDA and Congress stop using the term socially disadvantaged. Go back to build the individual case and identify the minorities in whatever category that they have already been labeled.
So we can see truly real what's happening.
Correct, exactly. So, exactly. Now, USDA has heard us to a certain extent. They don't use the term socially disadvantaged as much.
We got a new name.
Well,
It's
they
still
have
not
been
Black?
using the term underserved producers.
Underserved producers.
So, in fact, we have more of an issue with underserved producer than we do with socially disadvantaged.
Yes.
Because underserved producers is roughly 80% of the population. And so once again, if you target 80%, who is going to get left out? Our concern is that the Black farmers are going to be the one that gets left out, and what individuals will be able to say, or what USDA staff. But we provided support to underserved producers. So, right.
So those underserved producers are still white women that's in there.
It is
Everybody.
everything but that small, 20% of white males that were been providing services since the beginning of time.
Okay.
Exactly. So we're not, like I said, so we take exception to underserved producer, the term as well. So the other thing is the FSA county and state committees.
Oh boy.
Yes, that whole system is broken. If you go back and look at a number of research reports or reports that were done, the civil rights report, the Jackson Lewis study, there is a documented history of discrimination then, and some of those documents were used as the case for action for the Pickford class action suit. But if you look at them, a number of the source of discrimination in a lot of cases can be traced back to the FSA county committees. So we say either fix it or get rid of it. Now we believe that if they could have fixed it, that it would have been fixed.
Or if they cared to fix it.
Well, that's what I say. So, well, now, so that's what they say. Why do you want to eliminate it? Because we don't believe that you can fix it. If you can fix it, then fix it. So our recommendation is fix it or get rid of it. We think it may have outlived its usefulness, right? And so now we don't care. So put something in place, whether it's similar to NRCS, where there are federal employees, and if they are discriminating against farmers, action can be taken up to and including termination.
So FSA is the only agency that has private people that's actually looking at the decision making versus working for the federal government.
Correct.
So they could set this up just like they did all the other entities with NRCS.
Absolutely.
So they still choose to let this discrimination, knowing it's a fact, go on.
Well, they have. So anyway, our recommendation is to fix it or eliminate it once and for all.
Okay.
Right. Fully implement the remaining items that were included in the Justice for Black Farmers, including there were 160 acre grant allotments that were given to white America there.
160 acres.
160
To
acres.
every white male.
To, at that time, yes. And so, you know, then we're back to the equity. So if you did these, and as grants, not loans, this was the grants. So the majority of white American farmers then got their start or their farm from these 160 acre land grants. So our suggestion is land grants to black farmers especially.
So this have to do anything to do my 40 acres and the mule. I don't want the mule. I want my 100 acres.
Exactly, absolutely, yes. We already talked about the disparity in funding between the 1862 and the 1890. So we have a series of recommendations then for how to close that gap in funding between 1862 and 1890 universities.
So if we wanted to just read again or to go back and look at what you just said, is there a place we can go to get this information?
Yes. So we have started doing podcasts, you know, at the Policy Center.
Great.
And so the Policy Center Live, and there is there will be a specific session related to the 2023 Farm Bill.
Okay.
Yes, but there are a series, and they can find them on Alcorn State University's website under the Policy Center. They would go there, and there are copies of all of the podcasts that were recorded for the Policy Center.
So they'll be able to go and watch it and get more information from that.
Yes,
And
yes.
and so we still got some time before we go and to end the show, but please tell us your closing remarks or what you want to say about the Policy Center or about you, about what we can do to until we meet again. Give us that wisdom words.
Okay. So one of the things before, let me just say one other, I think, noteworthy recommendation relates to the farm credit system here. I mentioned access to credit being one of the challenges. And so, you know, we have a series of recommendations that relates to then increasing access to capital, you know, by especially black farmers. And in fact, Walmart, I want to say Walmart has funded a grant at the Policy Center. And so one of our research studies is looking at where that 92% of black farmers are getting their credit. If they're not getting it, or how are they funding their farming operations? If it's not being funded through the federal government or FSA, where is the funding? So there are a number of individuals that are, you know, kind of looking anxiously, awaiting the results of that research study, which should be available in April. So we're working that. The other thing is, and I mentioned, so the website, so if individuals want to be a part or sign up for the database to receive information directly from the Policy Center, they can certainly go out to the website, and I encourage individuals to do that. Our contact information, mine and the 3 staff that work with me, all of our contact information is available, you know, on the website. And in closing, if you will, I just want to say, you know, we're going to continue to fight the good fight, as they say. You know, we're very confident, if you will, or hopeful that it will be done under this administration. But either way, we're going to continue to fight the good fight.
We're going to do that, and we're going to continue to push and continue to work for the Policy Center, which represents all of the the black farmers and farmers of color throughout this country to make sure that you're bringing the correct information and moving that needle, which is so important. We got to move that needle.
Yes.
Because I can say as a black farmer that it is tough out here, especially if you had to liquidate all of your savings and everything else to continue because of being discriminated against. So there's a lot of that. But here at Ag and Culture, we want to make sure that we're bringing correct information and bringing in great guests like you to share this with us. So just know that you can go to the website, and we're going to post on our website as well to where you can go to see and get more information from us. Let me just thank you so much for being here with us. We're excited to have you come anytime. Our door is open to you. We're Ag and Culture. I'm Cindy Ayers-Elliott, and we're so happy that you tuned in with us. Watch for us next week. Thank you. See you soon.
It's season 2 of Ag and Culture, and of course we are culture. Tune in for great guests and conversation, breaking down all things agriculture. Watch us on our YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms, and on Facebook at Footprint Farms every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 7 a.m. on the West. Proudly sponsored by Heifer USA.
Heifer USA is a nonprofit that supports small-scale, sustainable livestock businesses, and we are currently seeking individuals interested in pastured pork production in the state of Mississippi. Applicants should have access to at least 35 acres of land and be willing to participate in in-depth training, both online and in Check out the Pastured Pigs playlist on the Heifer USA YouTube channel, or contact Farmer Engagement Specialist Ruth Canada at 501-391-5511.
Footprint Farms is a beautiful 68 and cattle farm located in Jackson, Mississippi, and is Mississippi's largest urban farm. The mission of Footprint Farms is to provide the community access to healthy food choices, introduce our youth to agriculture, and provide training and technical assistance to small farmers and ranchers. The farm is open to the public every Friday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. to purchase fresh produce or visit us at the Mississippi Farmers Market located near the fairgrounds. We accept all forms of payment, including EBT and SNAP benefits. Looking for a beautiful venue for your next wedding, family reunion, or dinner? Footprint Farms offers a 3,000 square foot facility on 5 beautiful acres, perfect for your next event. For more information, visit our website at footprintfarms.com, Facebook and Instagram at Footprint Farms, or call us at 601-910-5534. Footprint Farms, farm fresh, city sweet.
When you mention agriculture, most people think of farming. That's growing, harvesting, and selling crops grown in a field, laboring in those fields behind a mule and a plow from dusk to dawn every day. This vision is a big misconception and could not be further from the truth. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, the agricultural industry and related industries provide 11% of jobs in America. In 2017, it was reported that 21.6 million Americans were employed in the agricultural industry. Women and minorities are underrepresented in those numbers, and we encourage you to consider agriculture as a career. While farming may be the cornerstone of agriculture, the overall world of agriculture is highly innovative and is so much more than just farming. A new generation of agriculture professionals prepare to take on the science, technology, and management that exist in the world of agriculture. Jobs in agriculture are segmented into 7 basic categories, which include plant science, natural resources, food science, ag business, ag mechanics, and technology. In those categories, you can find individuals working as landscape designers, publicists, foresters, plant doctors, journalists, accountants, veterinarians, farmers, ranchers, lawyers, engineers, pet groomers, loggers, agronomists, zoologists, wind turbine technicians, researchers, policy analysts, food safety, drone pilots, robotics, and the list goes on and and on, let us take a moment to hear from a few of those professionals who work in ag.
I am Dr. Cindy Ayers Elliott, CEO of Footprint Farms, a 68-acre urban farm and ranch here in the city of Jackson. I hold a degree in Business Administration and Finance and a degree in Economic Development from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and a PhD from the I Love Jackson State University in Urban Management and Higher Education. I've worked 26 years on Wall Street, traveling the world, and today I'm a full-time farmer growing a varieties of specialty crops and raising livestock. I am a farmer.
Hi, my name is Bill Evans, and I'm the Director of Development and Chief Horticulturist at Biosoil Enhancers in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I've worked in vegetable crops for almost 30 years now, running university research farms in Ohio and Mississippi and doing applied soil and crop research. At Biosoil Enhancers, I write grant proposals for field research projects. I also conduct research and farm demonstrations on how bacteria and fungi can help plants get more nutrients from the soil and help conserve natural resources on farms.
Hello, I'm Tanya Gray Jenkins. I'm the publicist and social media director for Footprint Farms. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from Jackson State University. As a publicist, I generate publicity through the use of techniques in advertising, marketing, and public relations. My primary duty is brand development through social media. As the social media director, I manage the company's online community by reading customers' comments, answering questions, and actively engaging the audience.
Hi, my name is Dr. David K. Powell. I attended Jackson State University for 2.5 years as an undergraduate, majoring in biology before transferring to Tuskegee University, where I was accepted into the veterinary medical program, becoming a second-generation veterinarian to graduate from Tuskegee's program. I have also served in the military as an Army veterinary preventive medical officer and as a supervisory public health veterinarian with FSIS USDA.
My name is Dr. Kara Woods, and I serve as the research analyst at the Socially Disadvantaged Farmers and Ranchers Policy Research Center that's housed at Alcorn State University. I have a PhD from Tuskegee in Public Policy and Development. I manage all the research that's funded at the Policy Center to make sure that farmers get what they need in the Farm Bill.
Hi, I'm Captain John Martin with the Jackson Fire Department, and I do social media marketing. Social media is an essential component of farming because social media closes the gap between farmers and consumers. Social media marketing helps bring awareness and visibility to surrounding communities and abroad. Your average produce will have traveled at least 1,500 miles before entering your local grocery store. Social media marketing allows consumers to be informed and access better quality food in their local vicinity. Wow. It's so amazing seeing people connect and interact with local farmers via social media.
As you can see, agriculture offers endless career possibilities with endless opportunities for exciting, fulfilling, and profitable careers.